Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hello girls, and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy's podcast. I'm your host, Siggy, one of the WFA's educators and a women's online coach. Today, I'm joined by the wonderful Bec from Lioness Performance, who runs face-to-face coaching based in Melbourne, but also online coaching. Now, today's podcast is a little bit of a mix. It might go into lifestyle, it might go into titty energy, it might go into business energy, who knows? As long as you're riding with us and going with the flow, welcome on board. So, Bec, thanks for being here, babe.
Hello, I'm so excited. It's going to be super fun. I'm so pumped. Lots of big tit energy in this episode, I'm sure.
So for those who are not familiar with big titty energy, that's actually Bec's podcast as well. So if you girls wanting to, expand your energy around women's empowerment and coaching, like head over to that podcast as well. So let's get fucking started. What got you into coaching?
Coaching. The reason I'm coaching is has always been from a point of from a place of love. I've always wanted people to genuinely experience training the way that I have. Like I always say that the reason I'm a coach never really came from a point of and don't get me wrong, I've been through negative experiences that have better equipped me as a coach. I'm definitely not a gold stone that has never experienced the negative things that we as women do, but I've always grown up loving sport and loving training. And it's always been from a place of love rather than I hated where I was or whatnot. So that deep love for training always has been the reason why I coach, because I want people to feel that. I want women to be like, it actually can just be something that they love. It's not something that has to be something that they dread or hate, or it's from a place of hate. I wanted them to see the other side.
I think that's so important because too often we get caught up with what other people are doing and trying to attach their identity onto us by trying to do something else, where I love that you mentioned that with your experience, with the bad and the good, you're into this industry wanting to make it a better space for women, which is awesome.
Yeah, 100%. We put up with so much as it is, so it can just be a little bit more fun and a little bit more enjoyable for everyone. It's going to be a 10 times better place.
I love it. And speaking of places, obviously you have the Lioness Performance. Where in Melbourne is that based?
In the southeast suburbs in Berwick.
Nice. Yeah. And how long have you had the place for now?
We opened in December, so we're just ticking over 8 months now, which it feels like yesterday, but it also feels like 5 years. So I don't know, somewhere in the midst of that. It's amazing though. It's everything and more that I can imagine. And it's literally, it's epic. I love it.
It's a true business owning attitude, it's only been 8 months, but it feels like 5 years.
Yeah, literally. I feel like we have changed something so much every single day, but then I'm also but I want to do all of this, and it's just all messed in this one big bundle of today I made it an analogy where it's I feel like a toddler's just running around in my brain and I'm trying to catch them. I'm stop that. That's literally my life, but it's the best.
I feel that's 24/7, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just a busy mind, but it's cool. Lots of ideas.
That's what you want as a business owner, having those ideas to jump back and forth. But again, if it's a little toddler in your mind, it can be a little bit overwhelming.
Yes. Yes. You definitely have those weeks where you can't catch the toddler. You're come back here. And then you have it when you've got them in your arms that you're good.
So on those days that you can't catch that toddler, what are some, habits that you've put in place to help you with that?
I'm very lucky to have Emily, who's one of my coaches, who is a soundboard for everything. And don't get me wrong, this isn't I emotionally dump her. I definitely know our boundaries, but having someone to talk to about our ideas and where we are in business and what's going on is so good. So whether that's with one of your staff member or with a mentor, because I've always had really amazing mentors as well, just having people to bounce ideas off is super, super helpful. But also I am like really big on just coming back to the present moment. Like when things feel super far away or whatnot, I know it's just from a state of overwhelm and I'm thinking too far into the future or thinking too far back. I just need to bring myself back to like now and be like, okay, why am I feeling this way? And what can I do to take the next step forward?
When it comes to ideas for your business, what are some things that you look out for that needs to be, adjusted or doing a little bit better?
Everything that I always do is always centered around who we're serving, because the biggest thing I've learned is not to get emotionally attached to one system, one program, one way of thinking, because in the end, coaching, we're working with humans and everyone needs something different, and we adapt and we grow and we change. And if I was attached to one thing, I wouldn't be able to grow and expand. So literally when it comes to ideas, it's like, what do our ladies need next and how can we service that? So every change we've ever made has always resonated with the next step that our community is taking.
I love that. And speaking of community, because sometimes it can be quite challenging as a business owner, but also as a coach, to really find what you're wanting to put out there for your clients, because there's so much noise out there. So do you have these conversations with clients, or are these like topics that you overhear, clients chatting?
We are like, something I am really proud of is that how transparent we are with our clients. Like they pretty much know everything. Like, and that's to me is like one of the best things, because I think transparency is 100% important in anything, but if they can see why we're making changes and know that it's for the better of them, the changes are always accepted really well as well. It's just asking them, like, feedback can feel so scary to take, but constant feedback is important, because without it, you can't grow. So, asking for feedback. We run like a close friend story with our community. So just getting questions out there and just literally communicating with them. Like I said, they literally know everything, and we want them to, because then they're also invested in their own lives, but then also in Lioness as a community and as a brand as well. And that's what we want. Like they're our family, and it's the best thing.
I love that. And it's so important to have that feedback from clients, because that's pretty much you being able to hold on to that retention.
Yeah.
Like you said, having a community of women who are building one another, but you also being able to build them at the same time too.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I think people sometimes think that coaches are superior as well. Like, yes, we're directing them and we're telling them what to do and they come to us for inspiration and guidance, but that doesn't make us superior to them. So being able to show that we are equally the same, and and I find that validating how they're feeling, because we've been there as well, is so important. So literally just getting their feedback and communicating everything with them is honestly like the crux of our business, I think.
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned such a good point, is because we used to be in their shoes. We know what it feels like, the journey that they're going through, whether it's, nutrition guidance, training guidance, mindset, whatever it is. Like most of the time we've experienced it. So we are able to lead them, along the way. Speaking of experience, what has been your story before getting into, coaching?
I've always coached. So I coached as soon as when I came out of high school. I considered doing my exercise sports science degree because I did VCE. I did quite well in VCE. So I was like, yep, I've got to go to uni. Neither did my sister or my brother didn't go to uni. So I was like, cool, I'm going to be that kid that goes to uni. And opposite to a lot of parents, my parents were actually like, no, like don't go, because they saw the success of my sister and my brother. Like they didn't put the pressure on me, I should say, to go to uni. They were like, just do whatever you want. Like they were actually more towards like, don't go. And I kind of felt that pressure, which a lot of people don't feel, but I was like, no, like I want to go. I think I should go because of that pressure. So I actually went and I did exercise sports science, and I did it for like 4 weeks and I hated it. And I was like, this isn't for me. Like I remember the biggest thing I took away was like, we had to do pinch testing, and the teacher literally said like, oh, but you can't actually do this. You need to do an extra 300 hours of hands-on practicals to be able to actually do pinch testing. And I was like, first of all, I'm never going to do pinch testing. Second of all, I'm coming to uni and you're going to tell me I need to do 300 extra hours to do pinch testing of something I'm never going to use. So I was like, anyway, not that that is the crux of the degree, guys. Go ahead and do it still. But I was like, this just doesn't sit with me. I'm so hands-on. So I knew I wanted to coach. So I just went straight into my Cert 3 and 4. And then from there, I just started coaching. And it's just been a development since then. Like I've had multiple different jobs, worked for different people, and obviously went out on my own. Like every experience since I started coaching and still forward, has got me to understanding what I want in the fitness industry now. But prior to that, I was still a coach. Like I grew up in school doing Cali sports, coaching little kids like basketball and stuff, if you don't know what that is. And I was a gymnastics coach as well. So like I've always coached.
It's within you.
Yeah, literally. I love it. Gymnastics coaching was so much fun. Like it was like a 4 p.m. till a 6 p.m. job after school. And I loved it. Just got to throw kids in the foam pit. But it was fun.
I love that.
That's so good.
It's so fascinating to hear your story because, some of the coaches that I've been chatting with have had jobs prior to becoming coaches, but you've literally been a coach since a really young, like as you mentioned, like since high school. You've always been that role model as a coach. And working through it, now you're, not only a coach, like continuing as a coach, but you're also a business owner as well.
Mm.
Let's go back to when you used to work for other people compared to what is happening right now with a business. Like what are some learnings and lessons you had from that experience?
Literally so much. Like everything that I've encountered, I'm thankful. Like I would probably say that I had a lot more negative experiences that have put me in this position now, but also from a point of like, I always knew I wanted to run my own business. So maybe I shaped them to be a little bit more negative, as in like, I just want to control. So, like when you want to be in the fitness industry, you can just work for someone and be an amazing coach and have that security. But I didn't love that. So I guess like I started in a commercial gym. And I the journey I took was as I was finishing my Cert 3 and 4, a mentor, like a personal trainer in that commercial gym took me as a mentee, I guess. And I, instead of paying the gym rent, gave them like 50% of profits basically. And like I worked underneath them. That was terrible. That was a terrible, terrible experience because it just wasn't for me. And the commercial gym environment wasn't for me, purely just because I felt a lot like it wasn't a community. And I obviously thrive in that community element. I just felt like it was super competitive. I wanted to work with the other coaches alongside me and it just didn't work. It was just like, it just wasn't a positive experience. So then I left there and I worked for like a group fitness gym. And I actually loved that job. Like it was a really good transition out of what was like a negative experience at the commercial gym to a group fitness style training. It was the security. It was just being able to rock up, do shift and leave. It was still coaching. Like there was a lot of elements there that I enjoyed. But then I stayed there for a long time and I was like, this isn't why I got in the industry. And then obviously I went out and kind of did my own thing from there. But the biggest thing I learned, which I implement now and want to continue to implement, is like systemizing businesses. It's actually crazy. Like the group fitness place I worked for, the owner didn't operate in the gym. So they were actually just someone that worked in finances that had the gym as like an investment. And I think you could really sense that the systems were shambled. I'm talking like just with staff and operating systems and just how smoothly the business ran. I am like so big on that now within my business. And I think you can generally always tell when the business owner is in the business when it comes to fitness. You can always tell. So there was that element, but there's also the element of creating a career in the fitness industry. I think it's definitely getting better, but it was really difficult to find and it can still be difficult to find. So one, being able to provide a career for myself, but also for other coaches as well. That was a really big thing, and treating staff how I wanted them to be treated, showing them that you could be in the fitness industry without burnout, all these kind of things, like providing them a really epic space to work while still doing the job that they love. Because I find that early on in the years of coaching, you can hit burnout so damn easy. And generally it's really hard to find support with the people that you're working with sometimes.
Oh my God, I can totally resonate to that. And you know what? Like, thankfully, both of us have experienced the good and the bad. I have been able to move away from the bad because, you know, there's this ridiculous status within the fitness industry that new PTs usually don't last a year or even I think it's like 9 months. It's a ridiculous amount of time because they don't have that support. They get told this line that, hey, they have to, you know, go hard or go home. You have to work all these fucking crazy hours, you know, to reach, you know, your goals or whatever. And it's just like, it's absolute crap because there's so many other ways that you can achieve that.
Yeah, it's so hard. And you know, it's hard. Like, I understand why that stat is the way it is because it's a damn hard industry. Like, you get in it, always get into it because you love training. Like, somewhere along the line, training has shaped you to be the human that you are, and it's made you live a better, happier life. So you're like, hell yeah, I want to show other people how to do this. And then you get in the industry and you're like, what the hell did I sign up to? Like, it can be so scary and so challenging and so lonely, especially because half the time we learn nothing about business. And whether or not you're working for somebody else or working for yourself, there's elements of business that we need to understand to be doing either of those, because it is very, like, it's an individualized sport, let's say. And yeah, like I think that with the environment that I am now, it's definitely getting better. Like, there's some amazing mentors out there and we are very equipped, but still they can still be quite far away when we first started in the industry. So it's scary for sure.
What is something that you look out for in mentors at the moment?
Honestly, Ro has always been my mentor, Women in Strength. So she is like, she is like the God in my life. But when I look for a mentor, it's honestly just someone that resonates with me, I think, as a person, my core values. But also, that's actually a really hard question because it's just making sure they can tick the boxes of what I'm looking to grow into in the next part of my business. Because obviously with mentors, they work with different clientele, different niches, and they can, you know, you've got some mentors that are really heavily based around like, make your next 20K in the next week. And like, for me, that mentor isn't ticking the boxes for me. The mentor that's ticking the boxes for me is like, how can you better build a bigger community and create more services and systemize your business and build better wealth through that? You know what I mean? So that's a really hard question, but I think that's what's kind of led me to the mentors that I've chosen so far.
I'm so glad that I actually asked you that question because I'm hoping our listeners are having a thought about this. Like, what is it that they are attracted about certain mentors or certain business people that they follow? Because you mentioned really two good points. You know, we all have a money drive. We're all here to make fucking money. However, you also have a drive of building a community, you know, having immaculate services and systems so that retention does last for a really long time. However, most people are so attracted to that 20K a week and they forget about all the other shit that needs to be done.
Yeah. In the end, like, there's so many coaches in the world and we could all make the same amount of money, but the coach that's going to be successful is the one that's treating the client the way the client wants to be treated. So where does that come from? That comes from your coaching ability, your systems, like how well your business operates. Because if you don't got that organized, I'm just rapping. If you don't have that organized, then you're not going to be able to perform your best as a coach because you're too worried about all these other things, you know? So in anything, the human always comes first. The client always comes first because that's the crux of your business, really. And then you can make the 20K a month or whatever you want, but you've got to organize everything else first.
I do believe the money comes as a byproduct of everything else that we do.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's like on the back end of that is this was actually just in my mind before because I just got back from the bank, is like, even though we're saying like it's a byproduct, it doesn't mean that money's a bad thing and wanting money is a bad thing, right? Like, that was one thing I always feared away from in the first half of when I first started coaching, is like, in the end, you're signing clients, you have to have conversations about money. You have to, like, you know, and these are the things that you don't actually get equipped with because you're like, oh, like, I've got to sign this client and tell them that it's this much per week. I'll discount them. And, you know, all these stuff that you go through. Start talking about your money now. Like, stop making it such a taboo topic, because in the end, although money might not fuel your entire crux of your business or why you're a coach, it's something that's just got to be a part of it. So that's a massive thing.
Oh my God, so true. It's so funny because a lot of people have trouble talking about money. It's like men talking about periods.
Literally, it actually is. Like the amount of times.
So many coaches have this scary mindset around talking about money to their clients. And it's just like, well, you're not going to overcome it till you start talking about it. And if you're not going to talk about it, guess what? Nothing good is going to come out of it.
Yeah. Like you've just got to start talking about it. You've got to start looking at your finances, looking at your numbers, talk to people about it. Like it doesn't need to be this big, scary taboo topic. It's not, money isn't something that values you or devalues you, or it's just nothing. It's just start talking about it. And I say that from a place of somebody that literally never spoke about it. Like I didn't want to talk about it. But I love talking about it now. I love sitting with like fellow coaches who I like talking to about business and helping them like, give me your money stories. And they're like, I can see them get uncomfortable. And I'm like, yeah, I love this. I know you're uncomfortable, but I could guarantee you this is going to be your favorite conversation in a year's time. Like it's just talk about it. It doesn't need to be some big scary thing.
What are some things that helped you overcome it?
Literally just talking about it, looking at my money. Like the more that people spoke to it about me, like I worked with some really epic people, obviously Rose, with Jamie Smith, who's my coach, but has been a massive business mentor as well. He actually taught me the very crux of just standard personal and business finances. And the more I spoke about it with him, the more I understood it, just read about it, learned about it. I was like, cool. Like you've just got to start looking at it. It's just look at your accounts, understand why things are happening, talk to people about it. It's just don't feel like it needs to be some big scary thing. And I guess when it comes to talking to it with clients, if you're scared about talking to it with clients, it's probably from not a money point. Like, you know that you're charging a certain price for a certain reason, understand why you're feeling that way. Because it's always a limiting belief or a fear that you're not worthy of charging that. So understand that crux rather than the money itself.
Yes, those limiting beliefs around money, for sure. Yeah.
And do you know what's so funny? It's still to this day, like it's not to say like, oh yeah, I love talking about money and it's every conversation is easy. It's like if I have a week where I am stressed and a little bit burnt out, because I still experience that, like money becomes a topic that's hard to talk about because I'm dealing with imposter syndrome or, not feeling worthy enough. And I'm like, the prices haven't changed, but all of a sudden I don't feel comfortable talking about it. And then the next week I'm fine, so it's just showing up and still having those conversations and understanding the feelings behind them, because they always show up. It's like that same devil, different level, always.
Yeah, exactly right. And you know what? The more you talk about it, the more easier it becomes with clients as well.
Oh, 100%. Because it's like the first conversation you have about a failed payment, or the first conversation you have about upping your prices to your clients, or whatever it is. It's always going to be difficult until you've had it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Then you're like, oh, this is easy, So you've just got to have that first one.
This is literally taking me back to when I first started coaching, and I had a client that her payments bounced. I think it was like 2 or 3 times. It was like a ridiculous amount of payment times that didn't go through, and I was still coaching her because I was so fucking scared to actually be like, by the way, I haven't got your money, so technically I've been training you for free. And it's literally just having that conversation, going like, hey, the money didn't go through, I need to process it through. And most of them are like, oh yeah, cool, no worries, like just fucking do it.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. And you also, when it's money, you kind of think about it on your end. You're like, well, if I look at my account and I could see that something didn't go through, then why aren't they doing it? It's like, no, some people just genuinely don't look at their accounts. So just have the conversation with them. Like, just speak to them. Don't make it some big scary thing.
Isn't that interesting that there's still people who don't really look at their accounts? It baffles me.
It baffles me too. I'm like, do these people not look at their accounts? Like, it's crazy. And then I guess I look at it on the other ends and I'm like, well, I'm forced to look at my accounts, hence why I'm comfortable to look at them and talk about them. I think some people genuinely fear money so much that they just don't look at it. Like that people genuinely turn a blind eye to it. I look at my younger self and I didn't look at my accounts. It's like my mum comes in and she's like, Becky got this to pay. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, I was like, oh shit, got that coming up. Like, you don't look at your accounts when you just don't want to look at it, but some people just genuinely don't look at it because they can't be bothered. It's funny.
Isn't that more empowering right now for you that you're able to, you've overcome that and you're able to teach others to do the same?
Yeah, I love seeing women like understand finances, and like there's nothing worse than going into a bank and having to deal with some accountant or something, and you're like, oh, like it's a scary experience, but like stuff it, just go in there and let's start learning. Like it's really, really cool to see women talk about their finances. It's just start talking about it because it's going to empower you a shitload.
Yeah, it's so true. And you know what? It really ties in nicely into the business side of things, and also, building systems around finances, because if you don't know where your money is at with a business, how are you supposed to know if you're growing or you're not?
Yeah, 100%. And like, so thankful for my mentors too, who helped me do this, because when you're creating services, you need to know how much money you need and how much money you want, because if you don't, you're going to start setting services way too low, guaranteed. And then you're doing X amount of sessions per week. You can't even still afford to pay the rent at your local commercial gym or whatever it is. Like with my mentor, when we were setting up the services that I wanted to set up for the gym, she was like, okay, what classes are you offering? What does it look like? How many people do you want in that community? Why? And we had to figure out all of this and still know, okay, well, how much money do you need to pay your bills, pay your staff, pay yourself, continue to grow? And then you have to combine that and backtrack it and create a service. Like this, it's not just me being like, oh yeah, we charge $80 per week or whatever it is. It's like, we actually charge up based on X, Y, and Z. And then we crunch the numbers. And I think your profit's at like 1% sometimes anyway, if you don't look at the understand the money. Like you've got to find a reason behind these things and understand why. Because I think in the younger days, you always just punch a number. That PT is charging $60. I'll charge 59 and I'll win the clients over. But unfortunately, that's going to leave you with a lot of sessions per week and a lot less sleep. Like, so you can't go based off what the standard is. You just got to go off, what you need to pay for and what you want to offer. And it does they have a big influence on each other.
That literally takes me back when I used to do, oh my God, what was it? It was like a special deal. It was like $49 for like 3 sessions.
Oh my God.
Yes.
What's that? It's like under 15. It's under $15 a session, guys. Get on that. That is a bargain. It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And in the end, like it's your time, isn't it? Like it's time. I actually don't even look at it as time. I look at it as energy, because you're literally, again, you're working with humans. And although that session may have been the best session and, that person was in a high vibe, I do this thing where at the gym, once I've coached, I go to the toilet and I just sit there. Like I'm not even doing anything. I'll win. It'll take me 2 seconds and I'll sit there for another 10 minutes. And I just need to and it's not even a process. It's just me just being like, oh, I need 10 minutes of silence away from coaching, because I just gave so much of everything that I could give. And although it wasn't emotional or anything like that, it was just energy. I was giving energy, and I need to just bring that back and be like, I need to fill my cup back up for 10 minutes, even if it is just sitting on the toilet, because you're just constantly giving out so much energy to people.
Oh my God. I love that you mentioned that, because I used to literally walk to the staff when I was in the gym floor. I used to just walk into the staff room and literally just take a minute before my next session, just to compose myself and then go straight into it. And people don't realize that as coaches, we take a lot of energy, but we also give a lot of energy as well.
Yeah. I always say when we were with Em and stuff, when we were setting up the gym with the other coaches, I was like, coaching, I like to think of it as like a performance. Like you're genuinely giving absolutely everything in any way that client needs. Like it's not just being a little bit beat around the bush, and if your cup's a little bit low that day, obviously, yes, you need to rest, all this kind of stuff. But in the end, you're giving a performance, and that means you need to be switched on, giving it your all for that 1 hour that you're there. So of course you're going to be drained. I remember when we were setting up the gym and I was doing the rosters, and I said, things I'm minimizing are split shifts, because split shifts suck. I'm going to minimize that as much as possible. They are terrible. And I'm only putting you on max 12 to 13 hours on the floor. And one of the girls turned around to me and said, I want more. Like, I want to be on the floor more. And she hadn't coached on the floor yet. And I said, no, it's not happening. And she's like, why? Like, why? I'm like, no, like, it's fine. We'll do online. We'll do this. Like, you'll get the hours, but I'm not putting you on the floor any more than that. And she didn't understand until 2 weeks after opening the gym. She looked me in the eye and she said, thank God you didn't put me on any more hours. And I said, yeah, I fucking told ya. Like, there it is. Because like 13 hours of giving it your absolute all in the midst of online coaching and doing all this other stuff, it's so much. And yeah, I could have given her the more hours and maybe I would have given myself less and that would have been all cool. But I didn't want the service level to drop. I didn't want the quality of our coaching to drop. And I also wanted to make sure that coach didn't get burnt out. Like, this is the reality of experiencing burnout, right? You know, the strategies that you need to implement. I'm so grateful that I did hit burnout in the early years because I can now implement that. But that's a massive thing. And that's simply because we're giving energy. She's not doing anything different than the rest of us. We all felt the same, you know, we felt tired because it was just adapting to that.
It just shows you doing more isn't always the solution.
Definitely not. It is not the solution. I'd rather do way less with like work that is 10 times better than, you know, go all the time.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. There's going to be times where you're going to have to work a little bit harder than usual, but you'll reap the benefits later on by being able to, you know, put your feet up on the couch and be like, oh, cool. I can just chill for the next hour.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, literally, you caught me on a good week. Like, I'm in a high vibe week right now. 2 weeks ago, I was in the gym on the floor, spread like a starfish, crying because I was like, I don't know what to do. And mind you, I was crying because I just was building a squat rack and dropped it on my nail, fully snapped my nail. I was like, this is the glorious life of gym ownership. But like, you have shit weeks. And that week I was literally working from 5 a.m. till 9, 10 p.m. at night. And it was just the time. I was like, but I could bring myself back to the time, like, I'm just going to allow myself to feel this shit because I know that what I'm doing right now is going to be fine next week and I'm going to be better off next week. It's fine. Like, you definitely ride the highs and lows. It's not glorious all the time. That's for sure.
When you ride those lows, what are some things that help you to just get out of it and come back to that high energy?
Honestly, like, sitting with it. Like, I don't shove it to the corner. I do this with like anything. It's just validate how you feel. Like, whether no matter anything that we go through, even training, nutrition feelings and business feelings, there's always like a crux feeling that we're feeling. It's like, well, yes, all this stuff is going on. And if we're like stay in our head, we're going to think it was this situation and this that happened and blah, blah, blah. But the deep rooted cause is a certain feeling that we're feeling. And if we talk about that, we can validate that with any experience or anybody else. You know what I mean? So like, validating how I feel and how I'm feeling and knowing that I'm not going loopy or I'm not going crazy. This is just a feeling that I'm having, and allowing myself to sit with that and work through it is very important. If I just shove that under the rug and keep going, then this is going to be me again next week and the week after. So really just understanding that right here, right now, I'm allowed to feel this. It's okay. And then move through it is really important. Obviously, training for me is still very heavily something that I like to do to get out of my mind and get into my body. But even then, last week, like, it wasn't something that I wanted to do. I'm like, I don't have time for this, you know? So it's just when I feel that way, just making sure I can just kind of stop and be with myself, and knowing that in the end, when you're doing something in the fitness industry, nothing is urgent. Like, I'm not a paramedic. Like, it's, you know, nothing, no one's dying. Everything's okay. And if it means that the thing I'm launching or something's happening, it doesn't happen till next week or next month, like, cool. I'm going to be running this business hopefully for the next 50 years. So if it's not going to happen right now, it's fine, Bec. Calm down. Take a big, deep breath. It's all good.
Yeah. Sometimes you just kind of like have to take a step back and be like, what's the rush?
Honestly, like, I have told this quote to so many people because it's resonated with me so much. I was reading a book and from Gary V. I don't know if anyone will probably know. Yeah. So he wrote in there how I don't know, actually know his age. I think he's like 40, 50 or something like that. But he was saying how he's still creating business plans to this day and continuing to plan them for the next 10, 20, 30 years. And I think that even at his age is classified as taboo, which it shouldn't be. But for us, like we are always told, oh, you're going to die tomorrow, so go do this and go do that. And although I definitely believe that has validation and we should use that sometimes, when we look at things and I understand that hopefully we're going to be here for another, well, personally, I'm 24, so another 80 years at least, it makes, you know, me be like, okay, like if I don't do this year, that's fine. Like, or this week, it's so fine. Like I'm going to be in this for God knows how long. So what's the rush? I think it's so many girls that I work with as well. Like a lot of our, like the people that we work with, what's the word? Our age group is, you know, the young teens up until 35, 40. So like in that age gap, I'd say a lot of them do range from 20 to 30. They're all stressed about what course they need to do next and why they can't figure out what they want to do with their lives and what they like, who they're seeing and when they're going to buy their next house. I'm like, sis, buy it in 10 years time. Who the hell said you need to get one now? Like, literally, I'm like, but like we've all done it, right? Like I can say that.
We still do. We still have those irrational thoughts that come into the head going, oh, I should buy a house now because everyone else is buying a house. It's just like, why?
Exactly. And then you realize, oh shit, I'm gonna be here for 80 years. I could probably buy one in 10 and then another 8 more every 10 years if I'm all good. So like, don't worry about buying one now. I think it's just so important to look at it with both lenses. Like, yes, you could die tomorrow, so go eat that donut. But sis, if it's like something that's so life-changing, understand that you're going to be here for years and years and years and start planning for that. Don't worry about it right now. It's all good. So important.
So good. What's your motto when you're looking at stuff like that? Do you just take it day by day, or are you more of like a, you know, that 5-year planner type of girl?
As in with like anything? Like,
yeah, or even business, life.
Oh, I'm all. It changes. I'm like, I think I am very short term, like with planning stuff. I am like, what's next? Because again, if I go long term, I don't want to get emotionally connected to the amount of changes that are going to occur in that time. Don't get me wrong. I've got, like, I was only just 2 days ago talking about my 2-year goal with my accountant and all this kind of stuff that can be there. But what I'm doing right now is the planning is very, very small because the way I'm going to get to that end 2-year goal is going to change 1,000 times. So it comes in different waves and I look at it with different lenses depending on what it is, I guess.
I love that. Yeah, that's a cool way of looking at it because too often, as you mentioned, like we get too caught up with the end goal and then forget about the steps that you have to take along the way.
Yeah, 100%. And like, it's what we do like right now that is going to get us a little inch further. It's not going to be what we do in 2 weeks. We haven't even got there yet. Like if we think about that, we're going to get so caught up on that we're just going to leave it until that in 2 weeks time. You know what I mean? We're not going to do anything in the intermission. So like, what can I do right now that is going to get me a little inch further or whatnot? And sometimes that is literally going into my calendar and pushing something forward to a week and being like, I will do that in this time, but just moving it and restructuring my day and giving some time back to myself or something is going to better equip me for that moment in a week's time anyway. So I'm very contextual and I'm very, like, I like to change my things a lot. My mind runs. Sometimes when I'm training in the gym, I'm like, I think I'm going to change the entire gym floor today. And that happens. So like, it's just, I feel like the more I get cemented to one way of living, it's just not going to work for me.
I don't think it works for many people. Well, from the conversations that I've been having lately anyway, I've just noticed that as women, we're very multidimensional as well. We can't just be fit into one box. And sometimes when someone's like, perfect example, when people tell you need to focus on one niche, it's just like, how the fuck am I supposed to focus on that? I can't think of just one particular niche to help, women, let's say. So then you're trying to box yourself into this little niche, but then part of you is like, well, no, I want to start doing this and I want to start doing that. But then your ego's like, oh, no, you need to focus on this little niche because that's what's going to give you results. But slowly people realize that you can pick that niche, but there's so many other areas to it that you can start, implementing and delivering to as well.
Yeah, niches are so hard. Like, I remember for years when I came out of my certs, like that was the one word that I always heard. It's like, choose your niche and go with it. Choose your niche. It will create success. I was like, I don't know what my niche is. And like still to this day, yes, Lioness is definitely relatively niche. Like we work with women in powerlifting and strength training, but that doesn't mean that we don't work with women who want to lose weight and want to gain muscle and I just want general lifestyle and want to prevent injury. Like I feel like as soon as you niche yourself, like you don't end up diversifying it. And then also, yeah, you limit yourself to growth and change because I can guarantee you, if you niche in the first like 3 months, that niche ain't staying any longer than the first month. Like it's just going to change 50 times for sure.
Yeah. And you know what? It changes as you progress as a coach as well. Like, I'm sure when you first started coaching, you did something completely different to what you're doing right now, but it just evolves over time.
Yeah, 100%. Like obviously now all my clients are pretty much coaches, which is cool. Like I coach them. So like, and that's who I want to work with now. And I'm like, cool, I want to work with powerlifters now. Like I can pick and choose that. But a year ago, I didn't want to work with powerlifters. I was like, no, I want to work with this clientele and this clientele. Like, and I'm sure I could guarantee in 12 months time, it'll change again. And that's the cool thing though. I'm like, cool, where will I be in 12 months? It's exciting.
Yeah. And no one knows what's going to happen in 12 months time.
It's so, I don't know why it blows my mind, but it does. I'm like, I wonder what I'm going to be doing in 12 months time. It's crazy.
Who knows? Maybe you'll become a gypsy.
Maybe. Like that could happen with me. Who knows?
The toddler in your head. You're like, let's run away.
Yeah, literally.
Oh my God, that is so good. Far out. I swear today's conversation was literally going to be about business, but it literally took away into like money mindset, limiting beliefs, niching down, which is obviously all like relatable to everything that we've wanted to talk to. But before we head off, what's one thing that you can let our listeners know in terms of, running a successful business? The one thing that you're like stuck with you from the get-go.
I think the biggest thing still to this day is that everything is contextual and always question your bias. So I guess stay open-minded. Like if someone says to you, this is the way, go the other direction, because you need to like always question your own personal bias as well. Question your bias, question everyone's bias, and understand that everything is contextual. It's just the biggest thing. I could break that down for hours.
Yes, I love that. Having a little bit more of an open mind around that.
Yeah, 100%. Just stay open-minded. And I think staying open-minded also means that when you experience the highs and lows in the fitness industry, staying open-minded allows you to work through those in an appropriate manner for sure.
I love that. So good. So good. Well, Bec, before we head off, where can our listeners find you? How can they work with you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram, so Bec Potalej. Good luck spelling that last name. Hopefully it's in the show notes.
It will be.
Yeah, it'll be way easier. It's not Bec Potato, it's Bec Potalej, or Lioness Performance is our business account.
Bec the potato.
Bec potato. I love potatoes too, so it works.
Potatoes are fucking awesome.
I have like a mild addiction. It's probably getting bad, but
what's your favorite type of potato? Like, how do you cook it?
Oh, like hot chips. I don't cook them. So like the hot chips purchases. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sick.
Yeah.
Love it. The there you go. There you go, girls. Well, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure that you screenshot it, tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy, tag myself, tag Bec the Potato. And then till next time, just keep open-minded and yeah, maybe just don't niche down. Just see where it takes you and go with the fucking flow, girls.
Yeah.